Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This is David Bianco. Now, before you panic, my records have not been stolen, but you can see behind me, my usual collection is gone, and that is because it was moved this past weekend. My friend Brad and I worked all of Saturday from the early morning hours until dinner time to get those packed up and moved to the new house. It took quite a while just to get all the packing done. I'm going to walk you through the process of what we did. I'm going to walk you through what we discovered about some of the boxing material that we used, some do's and don'ts, and give you an idea of what it's like without maybe having to have you get the physical ailments involved that I have, and Brad has a little bit of soreness the day after, of course. But it's a labor of love, and this is something I really didn't want to have third parties doing for me. And because of that, we took the time to get it done. Now, the majority of the day was spent actually packing the albums up. And then, of course, moving it and unloading it was relatively easy compared to, getting them all packed into the boxes and marking them and organizing them and then getting into the two vehicles to get them out of here. By the way, the vehicles fared fine, although both of ours looked like they wanted to pop a wheelie. I think the back ends were fairly well pushed down on our two Kia SUVs. Brad has a larger one than mine, but we both had those, and they made the trip to get it all done basically in one haul. This is what a day's worth of packing will do, a day's worth with my buddy Brad. Got these all marked. These are all records except for these narrower boxes. They're 45 RPM boxes, but we actually put my CDs in there. So my 45s, I have some other boxes of, I'll bring separately. But this is all of these boxes. Some are BCW, some are the reinforced U-Haul. And I'll be doing a review on the boxes and how that went and whatever. But lots of records, boxing them and dragging them to the cars. Getting them out of the cars, bringing them into this house was not the hardest part at all. It was really all the prep from 7:30 this morning, had some lunch, had to go get some more boxes, got over here around 4 o'clock, so it gives you an idea of how long it takes to do this transaction. And we're poop, 90 degrees, high humidity, typical Texas weather. Ugh. So for boxing, what I had done was I had contacted BCW, which is a company that makes a lot of different supplies related to collectibles. And they have some very specific crating for records, 45s, 33s, reinforced. And I had seen them before at record shows. I've seen their product a bit with some records that I handled with Armando at the Vintage Mio store down in Waco. So I recognized that they had a bit of a niche in this where they were trying to cater to those of us who want our records well protected. So they sent me a bundle of 10 of their heavy-duty 33s and their heavy-duty 45 carriers and their associated lids is what I got, as well as some dividers, which was really going to be nice to have alphabetical dividers for them as well. But the main idea here was, of course, the boxes. Now, 10 boxes wasn't nearly enough. I needed to go to the U-Haul store locally and get their double reinforced boxes, small size, for records. Now, theirs held a little more. Pretty much the BCW boxes held 1 cube in a calyx. Pretty much for every BCW box, we emptied 1 cube. And so I have this particular unit behind me, and it has 16 slots. I have another one that has 16 slots. Then I have a 4x3, which is 12, and then a 3x3, which is 9. And so I had to get more boxes at the U-Haul store. So we went ahead and started to put these boxes together. Now the BCWs are interesting because the way they flap and fold and lock, they don't need tape. They don't need to be taped whatsoever, where the U-Haul boxes are not that way, and you do have to tape the bottom of those to hold them together. But what I found, and I found this out the night before we did this on Saturday, on Friday night, I built one of the boxes and put my Analog Productions records in there. And it looked like, to me, things weren't quite centered in terms of the way two of the flaps came together and overlapped. It looked like, they didn't overlap fully, so there was a lack of strength there, and there also was, the glue that was on there wasn't solid. So I'm going to show you some pictures of things where these really were, in my mind, defective. They were ones that, weren't properly fully made at the factory, to where the intended overlap, because you could tell by the marking on the actual box how far over the overlap should go when it gets glued, and there was a fairly significant gap there in difference. So the actual adhesion on the side of the box to hold them together was only at about half of what it should have been. And unfortunately, this was true throughout those 10 that were bundled together. So we had to reinforce those with tape. Which we shouldn't have had to do, because that's the nice thing of the BCWs, is you don't have to do that. They interlock. Now, once we realized that, we reinforced it. All was good. They're really a well-designed box. And, this is a maybe one-off situation, but, looking at the photos I'm showing you and what's to watch out for, I guess I would say, to be sure that you have that strong overlap and reinforcement. Frankly, I wish I had opened them up sooner, because I've had them sitting around for a week and a half. I wish I would have opened them up sooner and recognized that, and then maybe got hold of them, because I don't know, what the situation was, why that happened. The 45 boxes were fine. The lids were fine. It was just the 33s, which of course is the heaviest aspect of this. But the BCW boxes clearly are well designed in terms of the design intent and the way they flap over each other to reinforce, and the handles are reinforced on the side, because on non-reinforced U-Haul boxes, just a standard small, as soon as you would lift any records up in a box like that, those handles would rip on you very easily. Whereas on the U-Haul reinforced, they were better than that. And so the U-Hauls definitely are less costly. I think there were $247 each for those, whereas I think the BCWs can be, $7, maybe $8 in a pack of 10. So they're definitely more expensive. But, the ease of use and the way they work by intention of design, they're definitely made for that task. And if you want the less labor activity in terms of putting a box together, not using tape, which is a cost as well, then the BCWs are definitely the way to go. Of course, I have to mention the caveat. The ones I got, though, were not made fully to the way they were supposed to be made. The manufacturing had an issue. I told them it was for a review. So, I was upfront about why I wanted these and was asking for these. I didn't pay for what they sent. There was no charge. And so I wanted to review the box, and that was the intention there. So, again, things happen. But the box, as far as the design goes, is very solid. Now you have to decide whether you want to spend $7 or $8 a box, or whether you want to spend $247 and do the taping. That's up to you. I will say that even with that, the U-Haul boxes are not equivalent in strength to the BCWs. They are stronger and more robust. Do hold more, let's say 10% more records, so you get more than just the size of a cube in a Calyx, so you have a little bit of extra. And you know, maybe you could throw a box set in there, a smaller box set, or we put in some other things with them, books or other things that I needed to pack in that excess space, because I really did try to keep most of the cubes to be intact, and I numbered and lettered the cubes. This one was A, and it was A 1 through 16, and then I had B 1 through 16, and then I had C 1 through 12, and then D 1 through 9, although some of those weren't actually records. I think we went to 5 there because I had other things in some of the other cubes. But by doing that, I then could mark a box A1, A2, A3, and with the cabinet mark, then I know where I had those, just for referential purposes. So, you know, it all went fine in that regard. We had to get more boxes, which of course took some time out. And, you know, you just really have to. One of the things too about the BCW boxes is they have a nice flat bottom on them, double reinforced bottom, and it's flat. In the U-Haul boxes, you have the traditional 4 flap on 2 sides and then 2. And so what happens is interiorly when you look down, those 2 smaller flaps that come down create a ridge there. So what happens is when you're putting in records, all of a sudden you get on the other side of that ridge, and maybe if you're going to push it to try to fill it, you hit that ridge. So you've got to kind of lift up on those and make sure you push them back so that you can, you know, have a little less fluff in there, so to speak. So those got in the way a bit, whereas in the BCWs with the flat bottom, you never had to worry about that. The other thing, of course, the BCWs have a nice lid for them, which is very nice to have as well. So definitely advantage to BCW on the design and on, you know, what they are and what they do and how they do it. I mean, they are strong, robust, they will last. You can use them any number of times, I'm sure. You never got the feeling the handles were going to give on you, which even on these reinforced U-Haul ones, one of them kind of felt that way when we were putting it in the car. So again, you know, it's a cheaper price and all, but it's not apples to apples at all. So I just want to be clear. Now, the manufacturing issue, yeah, that's a problem. Again, honestly, if I would have looked at them earlier, I probably would have contacted them and said, hey, something's not right here. I'm pretty sure they would have fixed the problem and sent me another set that didn't have the problem, but it is what it is. When you buy anything, you always have a risk of there being, you know, something wrong. But hopefully these pictures I'm showing you, you know what to look for if you buy them to make sure that they're aligned properly. But I do appreciate the fact that they did offer these for me to review. Now, ironically, my 45s, I have those in a box already, a couple of boxes. So what I did with the 45 boxes is I actually put my CDs in there. And you could get 19 times 3 in there. So 57 for you that are math challenged, 57 total in that box. Plus on the height side, there was probably that much room, so you could stack 5 or 6 CDs, a couple of stacks of those across there as well, maybe 3 even, depending on the design and layout. So very interesting process. We got it all moved. It's in the new house. You know, putting it back in the shelves, I'm going to be doing some reevaluation of the way I have things organized, some reevaluation of duplicates, trying not to put duplicates up and selling those and doing some other things. So even though I've marked everything to be it could be 100% matched to the way it was here, I'm sure that when I end up, that won't be the case. Now, the next challenge, of course, is going into a new house and going into a new room, the sonics of the room. And today I was able to at least get in my speakers, amplifier, and turntables to at least start to analyze the sound. Now, one thing I did find is that, and this is a tip here to learn from, when I put the speakers in the vehicle, I had them with the back down and the speaker up, which is smart, obviously, but unfortunately on the back side we have the black and red posts for the wiring to go into for your cabling, and one of those red screw-on type things broke. Probably when I moved it, it got snagged on something. So, if I'd have had them sideways, I didn't want to do them face down, obviously, but if I'd have had them sideways, that probably wouldn't have happened. So, it's just something to look for. What I put it on was not flat. It was a Rubbermaid kind of thing in the back of the vehicle, and it has some ridges in it and things like that. So maybe if I'd have pulled that out and had a nice smooth floor, I might not have run across that problem. I don't know, but I definitely have to fix that, replace that post on the back of the speaker for sure. So it's always something. I'd say that all things considered and how much there was to move and all that, it was a relatively small amount of collateral damage in this situation compared to how it can be. And maybe now the fun will begin, getting reorganized. But the room I'm in has some sonic challenges. So there's two possible rooms I can use in the new house. The first room was carpeted, and it is smaller than the room I have. The room I have is much more rectangular and long. So the speakers are such that the left and right fronts are up in the front and the others are further back. And the room is longer than it is wide in my current setup. In this setup, it's going to be more square, much more close to square, and smaller cubic feet of room in the total room. So that plus it's carpeted, which adds another acoustic challenge, of course. So I definitely could hear some things in terms of it bouncing off the walls, literally, because of the short throw of the sound to the back walls. So whether they'll have to be treated or what I'm going to do, I don't know. I have another room now that I'm going to look at that isn't carpeted, that is of similar size, and I'm going to take a look at what it sounds like in there to see to what degree it may improve or what I'm going to do, because it's a strategic decision on that, because that room would require a wall to be put up because it's an open area right now. It's 3-wall kind of open family area that could be used for an office or whatever. And so I've got some challenges ahead of me to make those decisions and to figure out what that's going to be like. So, there is no perfect answer in these things, and it just goes to show you how much the room affects the sound. I mean, what I have today in the room really sounded very well matched to the speakers I have and to the listening that I do. And now that I've gotten this new environment, I can see that that's going to be a little bit more challenging, and whether I need some sort of acoustic protection on the walls or whether I need to make speaker change, I don't know yet. But it's definitely not going to be a one and done kind of thing. And so that's the variability of things, and it's hard to test that all out before you buy a house. And we had a couple houses I looked at that had really unique rooms that would have been perfect, but they had other issues that overrode the practicality of making that decision. So you kind of settle sometimes, and in doing so you've got to make adjustments, and that's where I'm at in the process. So luckily we've got some time before we're out of this house, and we can kind of step into this a little bit slowly, but at the same time, in 10 days, 11 days, it's going to be over and done with and settled in of whatever decision I make in terms of which room I'm going to be in, because that's the key. So you've got to take it as it comes. It's an interesting process. Moving this was very labor intensive. My friend Brad, I couldn't have done it without him. And I really wanted someone I trusted. Movers can move a lot of stuff, and that's true, but this really needed some TLC in my opinion. So again, to Brad, shout out to you, buddy. Thanks so much for helping me. And again, just shows you, in the vinyl community, when you get to meet people and know people, definitely met Brad through the channel. There you go. There's someone who comes to your rescue, and if and when he ever moves, I'll do the same to him as well, because it's just something we believe in. But it's all something that we're learning from when it happens, and what you learn is you never want to do it again. I think that's what you always tend to learn, and you say that. Whether that's going to be the case or not is something else. But anyway, I wanted to share the journey with you. I wanted to talk about the boxes and let you know, again, just to wrap, the BCWs are a great box, and they really are the leader in that, in my opinion. From using a generic U-Haul, even if it's reinforced, it's still not as good in the same. But again, it's got to be manufactured right, and this thing, the strength of this comes from, that overlap and that seal. That's part of its strength. And to not have that, we had to do some surgery to reinforce that, which is definitely not the intent of the design. You don't need tape when you're dealing with these BCW boxes. They are that good. That should be the experience. But I appreciate BCW sending these to me. You do have a great product. There are manufacturing defects that happen. I recognize that. And I just would tell people, just check those when you buy them. Make sure that is working properly in terms of the way it's actually been made, and that overlap is strong and secure, because that's a must-have if you want to be able to do it without having to reinforce it in any way. So for now, other than being tired, I thank you for joining me. And if you haven't subscribed, please click on the bell down there and pick the all option. And a thumbs up or like is appreciated, as are any comments or questions you might have. So until we catch you next time, and probably we'll be out of the new house, this is David Bianco at the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion. Take care, everybody.